Frozen Hell. How World War II soldiers beat death with nothing but paper, fire, and sheer will. Before we dive into this, hit that subscribe button. Not just because it helps the channel, but because what you're about to hear will change how you think about survival forever. This isn't another story about battles and generals. This is about the cold, the kind that doesn't care who you are, what side you're on, or how brave you think you are. The kind that kills slower than bullets, but just as sure. Welcome to the frozen front of World War II, where insulation, ingenuity, and raw human grit were the only things keeping men alive. Forget the enemy's gunfire. In the winter of 1941, it was nature that declared war. As German troops stormed into the Soviet Union, confident the fight would end before the snow fell, the Eastern Front turned into a death trap. The temperature plunged below -40, and suddenly the mightiest army in Europe was freezing to death. Engines refused to start. Guns jammed, food froze solid. The men's thin uniforms offered no defence. Frostbite ripped through the ranks faster than bullets. But soldiers are problem solvers, especially when survival's on the line. They started stuffing straw, rags, even newspapers inside their coats and boots. It wasn't high-tech, but it worked. Crumpled paper trapped air. And air, not fabric, is what keeps you warm. It's the same trick Depression-era families used in the United States, and one still taught in modern survival training today. The soldiers had accidentally rediscovered one of nature's simplest laws. Insulation equals life. On both sides of the line, men and women became masters of improvisation. Soviet partisans living in forests learned to build dugouts lined with moss and hay. They layered blankets on walls, sealed cracks with clay, and used a single candle to heat an entire shelter. Sounds impossible? It isn't. One candle in a well-insulated space can raise the temperature several degrees, enough to keep fingers and morale intact through the night. That's the beauty of smart survival, using science without knowing the science. You see, warmth isn't about the flame, it's about what you do with it. Those soldiers were practicing what survival instructors now preach: trap your heat, stay dry, stay low, and never fight the cold head-on. Even the smallest mistake, sitting directly on ice, letting sweat freeze under your clothes, or sleeping against bare ground, could mean death. Wind and moisture don't just make you cold, they pull the life out of you. Modern SEER, which stands for Survival, Evasion, Resistance and Escape, training teaches the same principle. Stay insulated from the earth, stay out of the wind, and never underestimate the cold. Now, here's where the story gets even more fascinating. The same snow that froze so many to death also became one of the best insulators available. Soldiers trapped in blizzards dug snow caves, just like kids tunneling through drifts. Inside, the air stayed a steady temperature. Cold, yes, but far warmer than the deadly chill outside. If they were near forests, pine and spruce trees became natural havens. Beneath those drooping boughs, the snow was often thinner or even clear. Soldiers could crawl under, stack more branches for bedding, and build a tiny fire with twigs from nearby trees. The needles themselves burned hot and bright. Out of the wind, hidden under green shadows, they created what was essentially a natural bunker. Quiet, warm, and invisible to enemy eyes. One veteran described it simply: "The trees kept me alive." Here's a survival truth that hasn't changed in centuries. Warmth isn't about heat, it's about retention. The human body is a furnace that constantly radiates energy. The trick is to trap it. That's what layers do. Wool, straw, paper, anything that holds air between layers, slows down heat loss. Even today's high-tech cold-weather gear is built on that same principle. And when there's no gear, you improvise. Soldiers learned to keep their boots loose, to maintain circulation, to dry socks under their shirts while they slept, to share body heat in shifts. Every move was a calculation between risk and warmth. In that frozen hell, survival was a science of inches. The inches between skin and snow, between breath and frost, between life and silence. It wasn't just soldiers fighting the cold. Civilians trapped in war-torn cities faced the same deadly winter. In Leningrad, where the siege lasted almost 900 days, families burned furniture for heat and sealed windows with cardboard. People huddled in single rooms, lined with blankets, sometimes heating the air with a single candle or small stove made from tin. They fought not just the Nazis, but the physics of heat loss, and they won. Not all, but enough to prove that knowledge and willpower could outlast almost anything. Every act of insulation became an act of defiance. Every improvised wall, every scrap of paper stuffed in a shoe was a way of saying, "You will not take this warmth from me." When you strip away the uniforms, medals and speeches, what's left of World War II's frozen fronts is raw humanity. The ingenuity born from suffering, the creativity sparked by desperation. That's what turned survivors into legends. From frozen forests to besieged cities, they all learned the same truth that survival experts teach today. You don't conquer the cold, you adapt to it. You work with it, understand it, and outthink it. Those lessons didn't just win battles, they built modern survival philosophy. So the next time you step into a freezing wind, remember that your body, your brain, and even a scrap of newspaper hold the same ancient wisdom that kept soldiers alive 8 decades ago. History isn't just about dates and battles. It's about endurance, the quiet kind that doesn't make headlines, the kind that's found in a man lighting one candle inside a snow cave and daring the night to kill him. If you want more stories like this, the hidden struggles, the forgotten ingenuity, the survival that shaped our history, then make sure you subscribe to the Forgotten War Fronts, hit that bell icon, and share this with someone who loves history with grit. Because out there, in the cold, it wasn't heroism that saved them. It was knowledge. And that's the kind of power worth remembering.